Okay, here we are. We are going through the New Testament in a year. And we are in Luke chapter 22, which means we're moving right along. And it starts out by saying, now the feast of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching. So the Passover is the big feast. It's the big festival. It's the big religious celebration. It's the big remembrance of what God had done for Israel. And what God had done for Israel is they were in Egypt. They had gone down there. There were 70 of them. They grew into a couple of million. And they became slaves in Egypt. And when they became slaves, it says in Exodus that they cried out to God. God heard their cry, and God acted. And the way that God acted was he told them that he would deliver them from Egypt. He would deliver them from slavery. And he would bring them into new life. But it was going to take some faith. And the faith that they were going to have to exercise was that they were going to have to take a lamb, an innocent lamb, a lamb without blemish, to bring it in their house, watch it for 14 days and make sure that the lamb was perfect, or as perfect as the lamb could be. And then at twilight, on a particular night, they were to slaughter that lamb, and they were to take the blood of the lamb and they were to put it on their doorposts. Now, what it says is that God was going to bring judgment through the land of Egypt so that Pharaoh would let them go. And the firstborn all through Egypt was going to die. But if you had the blood on your door when the angel of death came, then he would pass over you. So that's where you get the word Passover. He will pass over you. And when this happened, then all of Israel left Egypt. They were delivered by the innocent blood of the lamb that died for them. They put their faith in the blood of the lamb, and they were delivered from their slavery and brought into a new life. Now, they were supposed to remember that every single year. Now, quite a bit of time has gone by since this has happened. We're talking centuries. And they would go to Jerusalem every year, and they would reenact this, and they would remember it. They would remember what God had done for them. It was a festival of remembrance. We were delivered from slavery. We were delivered from the old life by the blood of the Lamb. So the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Now they want to kill Jesus, the chief priests and the leaders. And then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. And Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. And they were delighted and agreed to give him money. And he consented, and he watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. Well, there it is. They didn't want to do it when a crowd was present. They didn't want to do it on Passover, but that's when it's going to happen because Jesus is the Passover lamb. And so we get into this passage with the Last Supper and communion. And we had done that with the other Gospels. So we're going to jump over that so that we can look at a passage that we didn't look at before. And so we're going to jump all the way to verse 54. And in verse 54, when they were seizing Jesus in the garden, they were seizing him and they led him away to the house of the high priest. And Peter follows at a distance. Peter's following at a distance. Remember, Peter's the one who had said that he would not deny Jesus, that he would be with him, that he would die with Jesus if he had to. Well, now he's following at a distance, following behind. They're bringing him to the house of the high priest, and Peter is in the distance. He can see them. We don't know if they could look back and see him or not, but he saw them. And when some of those who had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. So there's this process of sort of backsliding of Peter following the Lord from afar, and then he moves a little bit closer and he starts to warm himself by the enemy's fire. And this often happens to us when we're following Jesus, and sometimes when we're starting to backslide, we're starting to lose ground. He's seated around the fire. And a servant girl saw him seated there by the firelight. So a girl that's a servant girl, belongs to the house of the high priest apparently, and she had seen Peter before. She looked closely at him and she said, "This man was with him." This man was with him. But Peter denied it. Follows from afar, warms himself at the enemy's fire, and now he's denying Jesus. He said, "Woman, I don't know him." A little while, someone else saw him, and he said, "You're one of them." And he said, "No, I'm not, man. Get out of here." And about an hour later, another asserted, "Certainly this fellow is with him. He's a Galilean." And Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Well, Jesus had said earlier that Peter would deny him, that this would happen exactly as it's happening. And he said this would happen before the rooster crows 3 times. Peter said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. "You'll deny me 3 times before the rooster crows." And the Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Ooh, man, this look was rough, right? Peter's there following from afar, warms himself at the enemy's fire. Now he's denying the Lord, and when he's denying the Lord just looks at him. Just looks at him. I wonder what kind of look that was. Use your imagination a little bit. What was it? What was the look? How did Peter feel? And then Peter remembered the word the Lord has spoken to him. He said, "Before the rooster crows today, you'll disown me 3 times. And he did it 3 times. And then he went outside and he wept bitterly. Man, just, a few minutes before, he was trying to take off the head of the servant there in the garden, and swings a sword at him and tries to protect Jesus. And then he starts to follow him from afar and warms himself by the enemy's fire. Then he's denying him. And after he denies him, Jesus looks at him. And when Jesus looks at him, he's just distressed. He is downtrodden, and he's in tears. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. Now, this is at the high priest's house. Hey, you want to come over for dinner at the high priest's house? No, you don't want to, not this day anyway. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things at him. So there he is. This is the religious trial. And he's getting beaten there, getting beat in the house. The house of the high priest. There's violence, fists flying, blindfolding him, and playing games with him and insulting him. Verse 66, at daybreak. So this had gone on all night long. All night long, the council of elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, they met together, and Jesus was led before them. Wow, this is it, man. They have falsely accused him. They want to kill him. And they said, if you're the Messiah, tell us. If you're the Messiah, tell us. And Jesus said, if I tell you, you won't believe me. And if I asked you, you wouldn't answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God. Are you the Messiah? If I say so, you're not going to believe me anyway. And then if I ask you, you're not going to answer. But you will see him seated at the right hand of the mighty God. And they all asked, are you the Son of God? He said, you say that I am. Then they said, why do we need any more testimony? We've heard it from his own lips. In verse 1 of chapter 23, the whole assembly rose. All those guys got up, and they led him to Pilate, and they began to accuse him. And they said, we found this man subverting our nation. He opposes paying taxes to Caesar, and he claims he's the Messiah. So there you go. The betrayal of Jesus, betrayed with a kiss, up all night with the religious authorities accusing him and making accusations and false accusations against him. And now he's going to Pilate, and we'll pick up there. So let's move along as we look at the trials of Jesus Christ on his way to the cross. Hey, bless you guys. Love you. Let's move along. And Luke, love you.